With the current state of the world, it really has never been so important to pay attention to what you're putting on the plate and where it comes from. We really need minimal chemicals placed into our environment. Wide open agriculture is leading the way in Australia's regenerative farming space. It's great for the land and for the people. Their brand, Dirty Clean Food, partners with regenerative farmers and creates premium beef, lamb, poultry and pantry staples. One of those farmers is Southampton Homestead, who produces pasture-raised chicken on Western Australia's first farm micro-abattoir. The result? They produce some of the healthiest, happiest and tastiest chicken I've come across. Jeff, can you explain exactly what regenerative agriculture is and why you choose to farm this way?
It's just mimicking the natural systems that are already here, the natural biology, plants and animals.
And in our system with the chickens, what that in a really practical way looks like is we run them on open fields. They're in mobile shelters, so they're protected from predators, but they're moving across the pasture like tractors. So that's why we call them tractors. They're mowing the grass down, and we won't go back to that spot for a year. So we'll allow the ground to recover. We're not overburdening it with too much fertiliser. The chickens can eat bugs, they get sunshine, so it's a more natural way, and they can do their chickeny things that we all know. If you've had a backyard chicken, you know how they love to behave, and they get to exhibit those behaviours.
And in terms of the actual product, how does pasture-raised chicken compare to commercial chicken?
The benefit is, and tying back to regenerative agriculture, is that the chickens do work while they're here. They help us build soil, they help us draw down carbon as well. So it's kind of a win-win.
So why do you have a micro-abattoir on site?
Yeah, so in order to be able to get food to people, we need to process it, and unfortunately there's really no options. So one of the big obstacles to farming poultry here in the southwest is that there are no abattoirs left. From an animal welfare perspective, that's really unacceptable. From a people welfare perspective too, to look after ourselves.
What about the land itself? How has it gone from where it was to where it is now?
Prior to me arriving here, the landscape was in pretty degraded condition. So the first thing I needed to do was reboot the landscape. We now have 54 species of grasses and herbs and legumes growing out in the fields. We decided that rather than try and save the world, we're going to try and save one small valley.
Dirty Clean Food was founded in 2019 by Wide Open Agriculture, which is the parent company. So Wide Open Ag found that there were a group of conscious consumers who wanted to buy regenerative produce and a group of regenerative farmers who didn't have a way to get their produce to consumers. So Dirty Clean Food became the conduit between those regenerative farmers and the conscious consumers.
So how many farmers do you actually help and how do you help them?
My role with Dirty Clean Food is Regenerative Farmer Coordinator. So I work with our farmers on their regenerative farm plan. So it's essentially a 52 dot point plan of all of the practices that they undertake on farm.
And is that in terms of the land health?
Absolutely. So looking at soil health, water cycling, biodiversity.
So why are you particularly excited about chicken and pasture-raised chicken?
So the chickens grow for between 10 to 12 weeks out on pasture, so beautiful lush green pastures like we're standing on here, and you can actually taste the difference. So a Southampton chicken will have yellow fat from foraging on pasture. Its meat kind of tastes meatier, that's the best way I can describe it.
Regenerative farming isn't just about the land, it's about the people and the place and the communities. Can you tell me a bit more about how that impacts things?
So when you have a lot of people in one place supporting each other, you have a very good support system, I suppose, which is a bit like when you have all of the different microbes and plants growing in the ground, they're all supporting each other. So Jeff and Michelle's homestead actually burnt down in a fire, and the whole community rallied around them to get them living back on the farm, as well as getting the farm up and running. So it's having those rural communities that can support each other that makes such a difference, and that's what we really love to support.
There you have it. I'm a customer of Dirty Clean Food and I love seeing their products on the supermarket shelves or in restaurant menus, but you can pick it up online and order direct. It really couldn't be easier.